So, y'all don't know about it. Look at me. I'm young, man. I'm about to turn 18 years old in a week. This is going to be my first election. I'm about to be voting, man. So for me, this vote feels sacred. It feels incredibly sacred. And I don't want my view of democracy to feel tarnished when I have to go up in a voting booth and vote for Joe Biden. I don't want that to happen. But I'm so conflicted at this point because, you know, I came out here a couple months ago saying I ain't never voted for no Joe Biden. I ain't voted for Joe Biden. I can't do it. Now I'm at the point where I don't know what to do. Because a couple of factors, I realize their importance. And so I'm going to dive into all those things, man. What are the consequences of having 4 years of Biden and then 4 years of Trump? What are the consequences of both of those presidencies? How does it look for the short term and the long term, and what does it look like moving forward? So first, I'm going to dive into 4 years of Trump. Under Donald Trump, it is undeniable that on the policy, that on just total impact in terms of global policy, in terms of domestic policy, in terms of every single issue, damn near every single issue, Joe Biden has the advantage in terms of being slightly less ass. You can go to economics, right? You can go to the fact that this man's a standard issue Republican, slashes taxes for the rich, slashes taxes for the corporations, does jiggity-jackety shit in terms of social services. You would never be able to convince Donald Trump to even strengthen Obamacare, let alone have universal health care programs. You could never convince this guy to move towards tuition-free college. You can never convince this guy to raise the minimum wage. He is fully in the pockets of corporate America. That is who Donald Trump represents. Okay? Then you move to foreign policy. I mean, this dude is literally out here just tweeting and basically trying to put us to the brink of war. Y'all remember this man damn near started a war in Iran. You know, he overall on foreign policy, when you compare him to the Obama-Biden administrations before, I can't sit here and say he's that much worse. But what I will say is, I think on the end of the day, he does have war hawks in his ear, right? He does have some of the former Bush people in his administration. At some point, he's going to bring us even closer to the brink of war and perhaps push too far to where we're fully committed. And that's going to be an entanglement that we're going to have to deal with for years and years beyond. And then climate change. That's something that I can't get over. Me as a young person, bruh, this is something I have to deal with moving forward. Like, in terms of my life, you know, if I want to have children, that's going to be something weighing on my mind. The fact that this man, right as the clock is ticking, we have until 2030 to cut emissions by half. This is according to the climate experts. If we don't cut emissions by half by 2030, it becomes irreversible, the climate crisis. And this man, literally as we speak, is ramping up operations of fossil fuel with the fossil fuel subsidies, granting mining rights and drilling rights and offshore sites. It's disastrous. The man literally put an ExxonMobil CEO as a Secretary of State. The word climate change didn't appear once in the 2021 federal budget. That's how little of a damn he gives about climate change. So when I think about all of that, plus the Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, God bless her heart, she's probably on her way out. That's a 6-3 Supreme Court stack with conservatives. That is objectively significantly worse than a Joe Biden administration in the short term. And then you think about the long term. And I brought up two long-term impacts, the Supreme Court and climate change. You now have 4 more years of inaction completely on climate change if Donald Trump's in there. Plus you got to deal with the Supreme Court, a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court. Plus, you got the district courts where he is just stacking and stacking justices on the lower level courts. Oh, jeez. Any type of progressive reform, even if we get a Bernie Sanders or an AOC or even an Andrew Yang up in there, you think they're going to allow progressive reform? Please. There will be lawsuits and court decisions everywhere across the country undermining progressive reform for the next 20, 30 years because of this guy having 4 more years in office. That's something that we're going to have to be dealing with, bro. And that's an undeniable fact. And this isn't like me trying to scare you, bro. Like, I'm on everybody's side here. I understand why you don't want to vote for Joe Biden. So there's the short-term and long-term consequences of a Biden presidency as well. If Joe Biden gets in there, yes, there are less short-term disastrous impacts. He's better on economics objectively, right? Joe Biden would not, to the level of Donald Trump, slash taxes for the rich and the huge corporations, right? Joe Biden would move to have more affordable health care in the United States, even though he'd veto Medicare for all. Do I think that Joe Biden would push for a living wage? No, I honestly don't. I don't think he'd fight vehemently for that. Do I think Joe Biden will fight for a Green New Deal? No. But he would at least have a climate policy. He would at least move to decrease fossil fuel emissions in the United States and ban offshore drilling, and perhaps move to regulate fracking. That is something that I could see Joe Biden doing. I can see Joe Biden being a slightly worse version of the Obama administration, right? Deporting illegal immigrants, starting drone strike campaigns overseas, killing thousands of innocent civilians, right? Having at least a climate policy, and just doing tweaks around the edges, giving us crumbs here and there. And honestly, the way I look at it is, I'd rather you give me crumbs than let me starve on the short-term impacts. So Donald Trump has the impacts of climate change and just completely effing over climate policy in the Supreme Court. But what about the long-term impacts of Joe Biden? Dude, the progressive movement would be fucked. It would be a much larger uphill battle if you have Joe Biden in office. A much larger uphill battle. Because think about it logically. If Joe Biden's in there, he has direct control of the party, him and his corporate Democrat goons. They have control over the party now. Complete domination for the next 4 years. That's undeniable. Right? Because he whooped Bernie's ass in the primary. We don't have leverage anymore. We're bending the knee at this point. So our leverage in terms of politics, the inside part of our outside game, that's gone. That's gone for the next 4 years. Then you have to consider after. This is the one I'm really concerned about. His VP is going to be the shoe-in for the 2024 nomination because he signaled he may not even run in 2024. And it's probably going to be a corporate Democrat, right? A Kristen Gillibrand, a Stacey Abrams, Amy Klobuchar. They're not going to pick Elizabeth Warren. Even if they did, I barely even give a damn about that. She sucks. So at that point, I'm like, okay, wow, we're now screwed for now 4 to 12 years because they're going to be a shoo-in for the Democratic nomination. They're still going to exact complete control over the entire political strategy. Our leverage is done. Our grip over any type of policy within the party, it's gone. If we have 4 years of Trump, the progressive movement, there's much more reason for people to flock to our movement because the Democratic base is fired up. They're angry, they're scared, and they're confused. Under Biden, they're more susceptible to the misinformation. So the progressive movement is fucked under Biden. So I don't know what to do. We're going to be fucked under Biden for 4 to perhaps 12 years. Long-term political strategy. I mean, we're done for the next 12 years. Then you consider climate change in the Supreme Court if I don't vote for Biden. Then I send Trump. Climate change in the Supreme Court. What the hell are we going to do about that? It's a tough thing, man. So 4 years of Biden, 4 years of Trump, both disastrous. I think Biden has worse long-term impacts, but I think that Trump has still terrible long-term impacts and terrible short-term impacts as well. So they both go against all of my principles. I don't know what to do. I'm at the point where I really don't know what to do. It's going to be an election day decision for me probably. And I think, I just hope that with the Tara Reade allegations now gaining more and more steam and we can have more evidence coming out, I hope that they replace that guy at the convention. Because if they don't replace Biden at the convention or move, because he doesn't have a majority of the delegates, if they don't do that, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. It feels like I have no reason to vote for the guy because every potential benefit is canceled out by a disadvantage. So it's tough, man. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what you think.
Chilling with the boys, yeah, we making all this noise. Can't complain, riding in the fast lane. To the top, we don't stop up till past 5 o'clock. Smoking.